Nityananda Jayadvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Nam Acharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundi Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamana Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. Gaur Premanande.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you, Ekendra Prabhu, for that very soothing serenade as we watched the sunset happening here. It was just a perfect melody, a very
Beautiful.
high quality rendition of the sound came through very nicely, and it was just very heart touching. Thank you, Ekendra Prabhu. And thank you to all the devotees who have joined this evening to hear from His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. So those of you who may not know, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj is dedicated his life to spreading the teachings of Srila Prabhupada from a very young age, since his since the 70s, 60s. And we are very fortunate that Maharaj is here today to lead us into this lecture series. So we've been doing the first canto, chapter 18 and 19. And then, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at the same time, 8 p.m. So please make a note. And we will hand it over to Maharaj now. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing Srimad Bhagavatam 119.36. Anyatate Vyaktagater Darshanam Na Katam Ranam Nitaram Riyamananam Sangsidhasya Vaniyasaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutade Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we were discussing last time that Parikshit Maharaj has said that Krishna has accepted me as one of his relatives just to please his cousin brothers. He's welcoming Shukadev Goswami. Parikshit Maharaj is welcoming Shukadev Goswami, and he says that you've come for that reason, because I have some relationship with them, not because I'm great, but because you favor your devotees. And we had some questions still left last time. I don't know if those who asked them still have them and want to raise them today. Otherwise, we'll carry on, and if at some point you have those questions, that will be fine. We discussed in the purport that the Prabhupada said that the family affairs of Krishna are different from those of the illusory world. A pure devotee serves his family members better than those attached to illusory material family life. And the Lord protects the family members, so much so that even if one leaves the family members for devotional service, the Lord's protection will still be there. So the Lord has, Shukadev Goswami has appeared on this account that the Parikshit Maharaj is related to his great devotees. Anyata, otherwise, unless without being inspired by Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death? And Prabhupada comments that the Sukadeva Goswami was certainly inspired by Lord Krishna to appear before Parikshit Maharaj just to teach him the Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the nucleus of the devotional service of the Lord by the mercy of the spiritual master and the personality of Godhead. So usually it's called a seed. Here it's called the nucleus of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. By the mercy of the spiritual master and the mercy of the Lord, one gets the nucleus or the seed of devotional service. The spiritual master is the manifested representative of the Lord to help one achieve ultimate success. Sakshad Hari Dana. By the spiritual master is representing Krishna. He's not Krishna, but he's as good as Krishna because he's serving Krishna by helping one achieve perfection. Then in italics, one who is not authorized by the Lord cannot become a spiritual master. So one may ask, what is that authorization, authorized by the Lord? I don't know whether some people in South India would expect that one has to get a paper signed by the Lord saying that one is authorized. If you're not authorized, you can't become a spiritual master. The Prabhupada doesn't explicitly say what that authorization consists of here, but elsewhere the first thing is Bhaktosi me sakacheti rahasyam yetarutama. Prabhupada often quotes this verse in that regard, that Arjuna was a householder, he was a kshatriya, there were so many sannyasis and so many Brahmins to whom Krishna could have spoken Bhagavad Gita. But Arjuna's two qualifications were that he was a devotee of the Lord and a friend of the Lord. So one has to be in that way. A friend means servant also. There are different relationships with the Lord, but that's the point. One has to have a relationship with the Lord in one of the serving moods. Elsewhere, Prabhupada often quotes the standard authorities on this. Shabde pare chanishnatam brahmani samupamashaya. To be authorized, one has to know the Vedic conclusions, and one has to have faith in Krishna, full faith in Krishna. Tasmad gurum prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam. Shabde pare janishnatam brahmani samupamashaya. Same thing. So Sukadeva Goswami is an authorized spiritual master. He's not someone doing spiritual master business to pay for his family maintenance. He's simply coming by the inspiration of the Lord. The Lord personally inspired him. You go there and instruct him in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He may not even have known why he was going there, but the Lord inspired him to go. So that's the other thing. What is that? That one has to Shabde Prayachanishnatam, one has to come in the disciplic succession in order to understand the message of the Lord or to be authorized by the Lord. Of course, Sukadeva Goswami was a rare exception. There was no question of initiation. There was no question of anything. he appeared, he heard the message of Bhagavatam. That was sufficient. No rituals, no formalities. Yam pravrajantam anapeta apeta krityam. Dvaipayano. So he was an extraordinary case, but we can't expect that anyone and everyone can follow that process and simply be authorized by congenital perfection, by being born perfect. We have to follow the process. One can achieve the ultimate success of going back to Godhead if he's favored by the Lord's sending his true representative. As soon as a true representative of the Lord is met by a devotee of the Lord, the devotee is assured for going back to Godhead just after leaving the present body. So this is like a guarantee, practically, that if we meet a pure devotee, if we get the favor of a pure devotee, then we can achieve all success. Lavamatra sadhu sange sarva siddhi hoy. This, however, depends on the sincerity of the devotee himself. The Lord is seated in the heart of all living beings, and thus he knows very well the movements of all individual persons. As soon as the Lord finds that a particular soul is very eager to go back to Godhead, the Lord at once sends his bona fide representative. The sincere devotee is thus assured by the Lord of going back to Godhead. And again, in italics, the conclusion is that to get the assistance and help of a bona fide spiritual master means to receive the direct help of the Lord himself. No sakshadhari tena. We don't see a difference between the Lord and his devotee. We see a difference, and at the same time, there's no difference. Prabhupada sometimes explains that Krishna is God the master, and the devotee is God the servant. Krishna the master, Krishna the servant. The servant form of the personality of Godhead is Krishna, and the personality of servitor Godhead is the devotee. Okay, we do have some things happening in the chat box here. Let's see what they are. Could you please give us your brief description of your meeting with Srila Prabhupada and your services in India and US, maybe today if possible, or sometime this week? Well, yes, I could give you a brief description of my meeting with Srila Prabhupada. I joined ISKCON. That's how I met Prabhupada. It wasn't one of those stories where I was walking down the street and suddenly saw an unusual person. I joined ISKCON, and 2 months later, Prabhupada came from India on his way back from where he'd gone because of his heart attack. And that's when I met him. It's a simple thing. My services, my services, I'm trying to do something. Let's see. It seems that Sukadeva Goswami was authorized as spiritual master by Krishna's arrangement. All the assembled sages could immediately understand that here is clearly a superior authority. This is a Kendra. Like you say, Sukadeva Goswami wasn't out canvassing for disciples. Krishna arranged for him to be in the right place at the right time. Yes, that's the first thing. Krishna sent him. As the sages at Naimisharanya said to Sutta Goswami, Tvam na sandarshato datra. We think that we've met you by the will of providence, Tatra, Dustaram Nistatir Shatam, just to cross over the very difficult ocean of Kali, Kali Sattvahara. The Kali Yuga deteriorates, Prabhupada uses that term, all the good qualities of a human being. So it's a very dangerous ocean, but we've met you by the will of providence. Dustaram Nistatir Shatam, Kalim Satvara Pumsam, Karnatari Varnagam. So we accept you as the captain of the ship for crossing this difficult ocean. So that's so it was Krishna's arrangement. Tatra, by providence, by Krishna's mercy. Then there was another point there that was also worthwhile. Let me just back up in the chat box and see it. Yeah, then all the sages confirmed. You had all the greatest sages in the universe gathered there at Naimisharanya. I'm sorry, at the side of the Ganges, where Parikshit Maharaj is seated. And they all recognized at once that this Sukadeva Goswami is the superior person. We may have our opinions, but we're ready to accept his opinion. So when all the great, so that's another indication, just as we have someone comes to Krishna consciousness, and there are devotees who are guiding him, devotees who are helping him. And they recognize, yes, here's someone suitable. Here's someone who's a suitable candidate. And they suggest also that here's a suitable guide for you. Or I'm thinking of accepting this guide. Yes, good. Otherwise, if they said, well, I think you might want to think twice about this person, then that's an indication, because Krishna appears as the Guru, Krishna appears as the sadhus also. So here the sadhus all clearly endorsed Sukadeva Goswami, who'd come by the will of providence, by Krishna's arrangement. Very good point. They were, the sages all approved. Sakshadhari tena samasta shastre, uktastata bhavyateva shadbi. The spiritual masters, the direct representative of Krishna, and this is approved. This conclusion is endorsed by all the saintly persons, sadbi. It's not just somebody's concoction that somebody's decided, or we held a meeting and we reached this conclusion, but this is accepted by all authorities.
The question from Athena, Maharaj. Athena.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Actually, I just saw a question in the chat box was somewhat similar, related. Three related question, if that's okay. The first one is somewhere in the chat box. If one is able to still go back to Godhead if the spiritual master is not a pure devotee, and similarly, if for some reason the spiritual master falls down later, I assume the devotee with sincerity could still go back to Godhead if the spiritual falls down and is not a pure devotee. But my more pertinent question is, our lineage and our path emphasizes the need to find a guru and to be initiated. But if there are other bona fide paths to go back to Godhead, such as Christianity and Islam, and we heard from Kripamoya Prabhu, yes, that God knows no religion. So therefore, I don't want to speculate and say that then there are other ways to go back to Godhead then, even if we're not born completely pure. So I'm not sure if you can able to comment on that, or if your view is that you can't go back to Godhead unless you follow the path of finding a guru. But then what is it said about the Christians and other Jews who follow other bona fide paths? Are they not eligible to go back to Godhead if they don't follow the specific order, I guess you can say?
Okay, so you have two questions there. One is about the position of a devotee who either doesn't get a guru or the guru falls, and the second concerns the other paths. So let's do them in reverse order, and you can remind me if by the time we get to the end of the second, we forget the first. Happens in old age. The other paths. So in other paths also, there must be a guru. The priest says, no, we don't, that's not in our tradition, you don't need a guru. Then who are you? Right? If he says you don't need a guru, then why should I listen to you? There's always someone that's accepted as guide. He may be a rabbi, he may be a priest, he may be an imam, he may be this person or that person, but there's someone who's accepted that he's representing God's interest, God's guidance. That must be there. That must be there. And any path you take, and that's in many paths it's explicit. Outside of ISKCON or Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's generally certainly in Indian spirituality, as we sometimes call it, there's always a guru. Even in school, there's a guru. Even somebody publishes their doctoral thesis or some academic paper, and they say, I'd like to thank Professor Fitzroy, without whose guidance I would not have been able to complete this paper. That means he's my guru.
I guess if you don't mind, if we look in our path, it's a very specific Diksha guru. We have a spiritual master, we get initiated. Of course, I think we're taught, yes, anything, even to play the piano, we need a teacher, a guru. To learn math or become a surgeon, we need a guru. But it seems it's very specific that we need to.
But what's Diksha? What's Diksha?
Oh, put me on the hot seat. Well, I guess Diksha, without knowing the formal definition, is accepting a guru as their spiritual master, and they receive initiated name, their connection to Krishna, and they make vows to serve that guru, in addition to other vows like chanting 16 rounds and following the 4 regular principles. But I apologize, I don't know the exact definition of Diksha.
The real thing is that he gives transcendental knowledge. It's not just a ceremony, it's not just that he's chanted on your beads. That may be there, even sometimes it's not there. But the relationship is there, that the teacher agrees, I'll accept this student, I'll teach this student, I'll give knowledge to this student. And the student agrees, I'll surrender. I'll accept the instructions that I receive from this source. I'll try to please my teacher and carry out the orders of my teacher. That's the essential thing. That there's a fire sacrifice, that there's a name, and we promise to do this and this in a sort of ritual fashion. That's there, but that's not the essence. That's not the essence. Of course, I agree to follow the teacher means. He makes it explicit. No gambling, no intoxicants, no meat eating, no illicit sex, and chant at least 16 rounds. So it's not just vague that yes, I'll follow the guru, but then what do I do? Well, kind of, I have a guru and I follow my guru, and it's kind of like I follow my heart, I follow my guru, I do whatever. It's made explicit. That helps us. That helps us. But the essence is that someone has to authentically represent God's teachings. So there's a holy book. It may be the Bhagavad Gita. It may be some other book. But the teacher can't represent something else. If he's a priest, he can't, Prabhupada would say, so you're a priest. It says, thou shalt not kill. How can you kill? How can you allow others to kill? You have to represent your book. That would be a point Prabhupada would make.
May I ask, then if Diksha means to provide knowledge, and in one sense to shed ignorance, then why can't you just have a whole bunch of Shiksha gurus? In one sense, maybe the priest, the rabbi represents a Shiksha guru because they're also providing knowledge. And I apologize, I don't know the exact definition of Shiksha, but if it's the essence is just to provide knowledge, couldn't that be done by just Shiksha gurus? And it seems like in other traditions then that they are accepting the rabbis and the priests as Shiksha gurus.
Yes, and then there may be many Shiksha gurus, but accepting the Diksha guru means also that you get one explicit, direction. Otherwise, everybody's servant is nobody's servant. You have so many gurus, but who's my guru? Well, everybody's my guru, So here there's an explicit, this person who's initiated me, started me off on the path. He's the person whose direction I take. And the Shiksha gurus are the supporting cast. They're helping me follow the direction of my Diksha guru. So in that way, you get a clear direction. In any religion or any religious path you take, it's a tradition. It's not just somebody comes and says, I'm your spiritual guide. And God has sent me to be your spiritual guide. There are people who say that, they're rejected, but they'll claim, I represent this tradition. And others will certify, yes, this person is an authorized representative of the tradition. So he has to represent the tradition. He has to represent the books of knowledge, the spiritual books. And he has to work in concert also with the saintly members of that tradition. He can't be, somebody who's got a new idea, a deviation, essentially. So it's there, but it's very clear and explicit in the Vedic tradition. So that helps us.
Yeah. And so you would argue then, because I've heard the opposite way, that it's actually your Shiksha gurus are I've heard that it's actually more important. It's your Shiksha gurus are actually more important than your Diksha guru. But
stop there. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says that the Shiksha guru and Diksha guru are equal and identical representatives of Krishna. Not that my Diksha guru is important, my Shiksha gurus are more important. They're actually, who's the guru? Krishna is the guru. Bande Krishna Jagat Guru. Krishna is the guru of everyone. But he appears by his mercy in the form of the Diksha guru, in the form of the Shiksha guru, in the form of the saintly persons, in the form of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna is appearing in different manifestations just to deliver the conditioned soul. Just see there's a whole network of arrangements there to help you get back to Godhead. The Shiksha guru, the Diksha guru, the community of devotees, the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So in that sense, being initiated means you're initiated into all of that. Okay. Now, then your question is about fall down. There must be a connection between the Krishna and the aspiring devotee. Generally that the spiritual master is there, he doesn't fall down. And that's my connection. But sometimes, as we've found, unfortunately, the guru does fall down. In that case, there are two circumstances or two scenarios. One is he falls down, but then he Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma. He quickly comes back to the standard. So then, Sadhureva Samantavya. Still, he has to be considered a saintly person. We don't say, oh, even Brahma. There was some instance where he fell down, and still we're proud to be in the Brahma Sampradaya. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. Is this just an unfortunate? What's the word? There's a particular word I'm searching for. I'm forgetting it. A convergence or an intersection of some external factor with the guru's usually wholesome condition. Something happened. Material energy threw a curveball. And the spiritual master stumbles, but he gets back up. So in that circumstance, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other acharyas say one shouldn't reject him. One shouldn't reject him for some temporary fall down, for some mistake, even if it's very serious. Suduracharya, bhajate mama nanyapak. If he goes on seriously serving Krishna, comes back to the standard, then sadhureva, emphatically, he has to be considered a sadhu, and one should carry on. But sometimes the guru turns against the Vaishnavas, he loses his discrimination, what should be done, what should not be done, and he utpata, he goes off the path, he leaves, and he doesn't come back. So then that's a different circumstance. Then what is my position? It's not that, well, my guru fell down, now I don't need a guru anymore. Still, I'm in need of that, of a connection with Krishna. It's not that now I'm directly connected to Krishna. Now I'm directly connected to Prabhupada. Now I'm directly or connected to Rupa Goswami. Some connection must be there. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in such a circumstance, Punarroy mantra grahan koribe. He says one should, again, receive the mantra. Receive the mantra means be initiated. Punarroy mantra grahan koribe. Again, one should be initiated. But then one says that this has become absurd. I got initiated, then I got initiated again. My guru said, then I get initiated. How many times am I supposed to get initiated? So my understanding, I don't have a Shastric quote for you. I think even the GBC sometimes may have accepted this. I don't quite recall. If not formal initiation, someone has to play that role for you. There must be someone that you accept. This person is Krishna's representative for me. Even if there's not a formal ceremony, there should be that understanding that I'm surrendered to the guidance of this person agrees to guide me. Not just, I surrender like Ekalavya, and I surrender to Dronacharya, even though he wants nothing to do with me. but there's someone with whom you have a relationship. He agrees to guide you. You agree to follow. So then there may not be a formal ceremony, but there's a connection. And that connection is equal to the connection that you would have if there was a formal initiation. Not just that, well, I kind of accept such and such, but actually it's the same dedication, the same everything. Otherwise, how is it that we claim that we're connected? Suppose you take disciples. How do they trace their connection to Krishna? Well, it goes to my guru, and then it goes, well, I'm not sure where it goes, but somehow it goes. No, there should be a traceable line of connection. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. So in summary, well, yes, and then I guess, well, to the first question, so it is in the endeavor of the disciple, and even if the spiritual master, for example, is not a pure devotee, or for example falls down and leaves, always ultimately one must accept guidance, even if it's not formal, but one can go back to Godhead, even if the teacher hypothetically is not a pure devotee, because ultimately it's our own endeavors and
What do you mean?
well, Krishna's.
No, it's not just your own endeavors. What do you mean pure devotee?
Well, actually, another Sikh devotee posted, I think, one of Srila Prabhupada's purports, that one should only become a spiritual master if one is a pure devotee. But I guess the definition fully has truly reached liberation. That's a very question. Reached liberation, fully surrendered. That's actually a very good question, because I guess you can say, you've also heard Prabhupada say we're all pure devotees. So what does it really mean to be a pure devotee? And so, yes, I guess that answer is, even if a spiritual master has not, for example, fully reached liberation, or even I guess you could say prima bhakti, if that soul is still endeavoring to love Krishna and serve Krishna, is a bona fide guru to guide someone, and following in that footsteps and serving will also lead you back to Godhead.
Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. He has to represent the path of pure devotional service. If he's representing karma, if he's representing karma kanda, jnana kanda, something else, then that will not be. Let me turn off all notifications. I should have done it before. Okay. That will not help me. If the spiritual master is teaching something mixed, either by his teachings or by his personal example, that will not be good. But when we see that he's just teaching what his spiritual master has taught, he's not adding anything, he's not subtracting anything, he's not changing anything, and he himself is following the same path of pure devotional service, then we can accept such a person, not otherwise. Not otherwise. He's representing the spiritual master, but he's smoking, he's drinking, he's got a girlfriend. No, he has to represent the spiritual master by word and by deeds. Then you get what Prabhupada calls a transparent via medium. A transparent medium. That what your spiritual master is teaching you is what his spiritual master taught. He's teaching what his spiritual master taught. And so it goes. Evam parampara praptam. Not adulterating anything, not changing anything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Let's see, there's more happening in the chat box here. Wow, there's lots of questions here. From Madan Gopal, from relaying Samarpan Gopa Das. Who is pure devotee in true sense for a sadhaka who is sincerely trying to connect with the Lord? My personal experience is a decade back, I felt some devotees are pure devotees. Until 1 year back, I felt different as I saw them closely. Is the definition and perception of who is a pure devotee, does it vary as you progress in Krishna consciousness? Of course, Mahabhagavad says all others are pure devotees, but he's not anxious to associate with all of them. There's a whole presentation I've given on this topic of pure devotee. It's a common term, of course, in Prabhupada's teachings, but the definition is quite, varies quite a bit from place to place. Some places pure devotee means that he's, what would you say, achieved the highest stage of perfection in pure devotional service. And some places he chants Hare Krishna, he has Tulsi beads and a spiritual name. So it's really quite something, this term pure devotee. It's quite, to say that it's nuanced doesn't do justice to the way Prabhupada uses it. He really uses it very flexibly to be a pure devotee. But contextually, in the context of initiation, in the context of serving as a spiritual master, Prabhupada always represents, always emphasizes the work of the spiritual master, that he has to teach the same thing. He has to follow, and he has to teach without changing. That's the most important point that Prabhupada makes. He doesn't come out and say your spiritual master has to be in Madhurya Ras, your spiritual master has to be, you have to be confident that he's dancing with Krishna. It's always this, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. He's heard from the parampara, received knowledge in the parampara. He knows the conclusions of the Shastra, and Brahmanishta. He has full faith in Krishna. These are the, yes, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shabde Parecha Nishnatam. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam, he's heard from the authority. He repeats faithfully. And Brahmanishta, he has faith in the process. He follows, not just the lip service, I have faith in this process, but faith means he does it. It's difficult for us to measure the pure devotee. Our problem is that we're in Maya, and Maya means we see everything from a mundane point of view. I remember Hansatuta, the late Hansatuta Prabhu, told us that first time I think he met Prabhupada, he came into 26 Second Avenue, and Prabhupada was leading kirtan, and Hansatuta thought that this person looks, very, mystical. It's like, obviously a saintly person, and he's a Swami, very, very impressed. Prabhupada finished the kirtan. Then he put his kartals down. He took out his book and put on his glasses. And Hansatuta said, I thought, he's a Swami. Why does he need glasses? He's supposed to be perfect. Why does he need glasses? So that's our measuring tendency. We see in terms of some mundane consideration. If he's a Swami, why should he have to have glasses? If he's a pure devotee, why does he forget? I asked Prabhupada that question, that sometimes we see that the spiritual master makes mistakes. It says sometimes we see from the mundane point of view that the spiritual master makes mistakes. Probably that is mundane point of view. He said we have to see how the spiritual master is teaching. Acharya Bhakti Sankshanat. How the Acharya, the spiritual master, is teaching pure devotional service. Otherwise, Rupa Goswami cautions us, you'll see the imperfections of the spiritual master from the external point of view, or the imperfections of a Vaishnava from an external point of view. You'll go bathe in the Ganges and then you'll stop and say, oh, look at that, there's a dead body, or there's stool, or there's the water's dirty. We'll see from with our mundane eyes, and we won't see the Ganges as it is. So we'll examine the spiritual master with some mundane ideas, and we'll miss it. We'll misunderstand. And we see that many people, they couldn't accept Prabhupada. We take it that when Prabhupada was here, everybody could see he was a pure. No. So many people came and they didn't see it at all, or they saw something, but they had doubts. And so they never surrendered. They were seeing in terms of some other consideration. They couldn't see how he's representing Krishna, how Krishna is appearing to me in the form of the pure devotee. That vision wasn't there. So therefore, the disciple has to have he has to be sincere, so that Krishna will give him direction that, yes, you take this opportunity, you take this advantage. There's more that could be said about that, but I think that sort of gets us started. The Guru has to be in the parampara, Leonard Leon says. Yes, correct. Does the Guru suffer for all, this is Manan Gopal, for all the sins of his disciples? I've heard devotees telling me yes and no. Yes, because he's taken the responsibility of all the disciples, and no, because the Guru is a pure devotee. Why should he suffer on behalf of the disciples? Well, yes, because Prabhupada said it. It's that sometimes the Guru has to suffer because of the sinful activities of the disciples. Ultimately, and no, because ultimately, first of all, for the person in Krishna consciousness, there is no suffering. He knows I'm not this body. He knows that these sufferings of the body have nothing to do with me. So where's the suffering? He's transcendental to suffering. That's principles there. Also, because Krishna reduces it. How many who can accept on his own anyone else's sinful reactions? I accept your sinful reactions, and now I've got my own and yours too. And then the next person's and the next person's, and somehow or other I have to accept all these sinful reactions. It's almost impossible, because we can hardly bear our own sinful reactions. So Sakshat Haritena, the spiritual master represents Krishna. The sinful reactions are, what is that? Jnana-agni dagda karmani. They're burned up in the fire of transcendental knowledge, burned up by Krishna consciousness. That's the spiritual master teaches the disciple how not to be sinful. How not to be sinful. So the disciple has to cooperate with the spiritual master and agree, yes, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex. Otherwise, it goes to my spiritual master. Then the spiritual master, all right, Krishna may take that burden, but why should it have to be passed on to the spiritual master to be, what's the word, somehow or other processed isn't what I want to say, but dealt with. Why should my spiritual master have to deal with my ongoing sinful activities? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Jagai and Madhai, but it was sin no more. Whatever sinful activities you've performed, karmani nirdahati kintu bhakti bhajam, that can all be destroyed by devotional service. But don't go on committing sinful activities so that it's piled on my spiritual master, and in sort of in the process of handing that on to of dealing with that, he has to be affected. Prabhupada said sometimes the spiritual master sees bad dreams or in some other way. It comes on the spiritual master. He sometimes suffers some disease condition. So the disciple should think that I don't want to dump this on my spiritual master. I have to follow his instructions. Even Jesus, the same thing. He accepted these sinful people, but then he would direct them, sin no more. So that's the disciple's duty. The guru has his duty to guide the disciple, to direct the disciple, but the disciple has the duty to follow. The doctor prescribes, that's his duty. He takes responsibility for the patient, but the patient has to agree to comply. It's not just that the spiritual master agrees to all these things and then the disciple's on holiday, and now he can do whatever he likes. Therefore, initiation means to begin. And to begin means to continue. We have to continue if we want the relationship to be effective. Okay, I'm going to skip one question because it'll take longer and we're only down to a few minutes. But I'm going to take this question from Prema Sindhu. What happens when one's spiritual master passes away? As is the case with Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Who then is the spiritual master for all of Srila Prabhupada's disciples? Srila Prabhupada. It's not a question of physical presence. If the disciples follow their guru, then the connection is eternal. It's not that when he disappears from our physical vision, then the relationship is over. The relationship is eternal as long as we follow the spiritual master's instructions. So
I just wanted to say something about this. Yes, Srila Prabhupada.
A little loud, please.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master, but as you were saying, if let's say your guru has deviated or fallen, then you have to take instruction from some other qualified or person like that. So in that situation, I was thinking that, let's say somebody had a very little interaction with Srila Prabhupada.
Doesn't matter. Lavamatra, sadhu sangha sarva siddhi vai. One moment's association or even no physical association. There's some disciples of Srila Prabhupada who may never have met Srila Prabhupada. Doesn't matter. Once the contract is there, the spiritual master agrees, I accept you, and the disciple agrees, I'll follow you. That's enough. That's enough.
But when they have problems in their life and they want to consult, get guidance, how does that work with...
Even in Prabhupada's physical presence, we had that. It's not that everybody around the world could go to Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, should I do the 4 o'clock offering? I have a lot of service already. Prabhupada, should I marry this boy? Spiritual master's representatives are there. Prabhupada used to put it that way, that he has his representatives. Or the sadhus are there, the devotees are there to guide us.
Thank you.
And what is that guidance? How to follow your spiritual master. Not just that sadhus, all I need is the Shastra and the sadhus. The sadhus help us follow the spiritual master.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're down to 8:59, which is practically 9 o'clock. I have a thought because we're reaching the end of first canto. So there's two things we can do. We can begin second canto, which is a wonderful adventure. Or I was thinking alternatively that I could spend some days and talk about a topic which has come up and which has been presented to us in the text also, the unseen ashram, the vanaprastha ashram. I could talk for some days about the vanaprastha adventure, which is...
That sounds very exciting, Maharaj.
So if you have any thoughts about this, anyone who's here, you can get in touch with me if you, or you can get in touch with Madan Gopal and say, no, I really don't think this is appropriate. We should, or, and we'll talk more about what that might entail, that vanaprastha adventure, and which I intend, if I cover the subject, to be both theoretical, but not too theoretical, sort of an overview of the relevant principles, and then practical application. How do we do this? How do we do this as individually or as a community? How do we move this agenda forward? That would be our field if we go in that direction.
How many sessions do you envision that particular module, Maharaj? Do you have?
I'm completely flexible. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 5, it could be more. It really depends on the audience. It depends on the audience. Even like today, how many verses did we cover? You know, the questions came, and so it's.
Okay.
And by the way, if there are questions here that every week that didn't get answered, you can save them for the next time.
Yeah, I will save these questions and maybe, yeah. So I can bring them up again on Wednesday. Just kind of repopulate the chat box so that we have everything saved. So I'll do that, and then we can continue on Wednesday.
13 new messages. Maybe a very populated chat box.
This guru topic is a very popular one. I mean, there's a whole course, the ISKCON Disciples course, that addresses so many of these. And this is the reason why we have a whole course around it, because so many questions do come up. And there's a lot of clarity that is needed. So I can definitely envision a lot more discussion on this, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we can pause here until Wednesday. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Maharaj, once again. And we will continue this topic on Wednesday. But before you leave, dear devotees, please hold on for upcoming announcements. So this week, we have a number of speakers coming up. Tomorrow, Her Grace Nitai Sevani Mataji from India, she'll be talking on the topic of Kaliya Daman Leela. Then Wednesday, we'll have Maharaj again. And of course, Friday also. On Thursday, we have Gopal Hari Prabhu. Gopal Hari Prabhu is the younger brother of Radhika Raman Prabhu, who has spoken 3 times already on this forum. And Gopal Hari Prabhu is also just as much educated as his brother. He has a PhD from Oxford and all the bells and whistles that go along with all that, you know, homeschooled and everything, a super genius devotee. I believe he's in the audience today. And we really look forward to hearing from him. The topic is going to be, may calamities befall us at every step. The Bhagavatam's response to the problem of suffering. Very interesting first canto topic. On Saturday, we have His Grace Dwarkadish Prabhu and Vishaka Mataji on Saturday morning at 11 on how to build immunity from a spiritual perspective, spiritual immunity. We're boosting our immunity. So do join for that. And Saturday evening, Hari Parshad Prabhu will continue. And then Sunday, evening, we have Anand Vrindavan Mataji and Raj Bihari Prabhu. On the topic of We Are Not Vishnu. So wonderful speakers coming up this whole week. So please join us. That is every day at 8 p.m., Saturday 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. And then Sunday is 6 p.m. So thank you very much once again. And
Amarendra's katha, beautiful last night.
oh yeah, his katha was a big hit. As always, it was fully saturated with lots of devotion and very much appreciated by all the devotees. And we hope to have him again also. So please stay tuned to these announcements. We'll be putting these announcements on our ISKCON of New Jersey website, on our Facebook page, our WhatsApp groups, and our email list. It's all over the place. So please keep coming and joining us and participating with your full enthusiasm. And I would like to request His Grace Neelmani Prabhu to offer a word of thanks, and then we'll open it up to all the devotees.
Thank you, Maharaj, once again for a wonderful class. Yeah, the discussion is just so unusual. We just don't get to. We have many places where we can go to hear classes, but this kind of interactive discussion, I think, really makes it so much more interesting to hear and follow. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to all of our audience members for joining today. And as Madan Gopal said, please join every day. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Neelmani. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Maharaj. Hare
Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo, Gopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Bol, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much. Always. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prajrani.